is the DeFi Decoded podcast by 9 Point Partners. The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast should not be taken as investment advice. Always consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of DeFi Decoded. I am Alex Tapscott. Last week we talked a lot about our predictions for 2025, and one of the themes that we covered was the intersection of crypto and AI. And I think until probably 6 or 9 months ago, most people thought that these were two distinct areas of technology. But there were some people within the crypto space who I think saw the potential and the significance of how the two would interact and I think ultimately converge. And we've actually long maintained that crypto and AI are two related technologies, part of this new era, and that they're on a collision course. So let me kind of just explain the thinking here. AI agents, which have become very popular, virtual assistants, trading bots, and other sort of software that performs tasks, have now become extremely popular and may ultimately outnumber humans. But unlike people, they cannot walk into a bank and open a checking account. They can't start a company, or they can't enter into a legal agreement. The only way for them to do transactions, to move and store value, and to form binding business relationships with individuals or with other agents is using crypto and the Onchain toolkit of smart contracts and DAOs. So it's fun to do thought experiments about this. You can imagine a world where there are AI agents doing basically every possible form of knowledge work, AI lawyers, accountants, pharmacists, traders, engineers, financial analysts, market strategists, architects, plus not to mention, robots, self-driving cars, delivery drones, et cetera. They're all going to basically need a way to transact online without a bank account. And once you start to see it that way, you begin to appreciate the potential and the excitement around the intersection of these two technologies. But as with all things crypto, there's a ton of hype. There's a ton of there. There's always something real happening, but there's also a ton of hype. And we wanted to bring on an expert who is really kind of focused in this area to help sort of explain the potential and separate the hype from the reality. And it is really the perfect guest, Eric Chen, who's the co-founder and CEO of Injective Labs. So Injective Labs is a research and development company focused on creating Web3 infrastructure and finance solutions, and is one of the core contributors to Injective, which is an interoperable L1 blockchain, which it operates at the intersection of DeFi and TradFi. That's DeFi, DEFI, not DEFAI, but that's, I think, where we're headed. Outside of Injective, Eric is an active entrepreneur and VC. He co-launched Vessel Capital publicly in 2023, 55 million in AUM, with the mission to drive forward a new paradigm for the internet economy. The Vessel is redefining the current venture model altogether by accepting zero outside capital while offering an unmatched hands-on approach to founders. So between Injective and Vessel, Eric's got his hands busy, and there's an awful lot happening in his world. So we are delighted to have you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right, terrific. Well, let's jump right into it. So sounds like you've been at this for a while, an OG with a lot of experience and lots of different things in crypto. How did you get your journey started in the space?
Yeah, so I think I got in touch with the space pretty early on, just exploring and hearing hearing about Ethereum when it first launched, and then doing some research into various kind of blockchain protocols back in the day when they were first dabbling into proof of stake mechanisms, etc. By I think Peercoin, etc. And then later on, in college, started getting into research, especially on the cryptography front. And then while I was studying, also decided to jump ship and work into take up full time into a trading firm focusing on various strategies, because back in the day there's a lot of limited understanding about how blockchain protocols work, and a lot of the cryptographic mechanisms. So there were a lot of very easy alpha there alongside various trading models, given that liquidity back in the day was pretty Wild West, to say the least.
Yeah.
Eventually got into the research lab more, and decided to work on one of the first front-running resistant mechanism to support a fully on-chain order book design, and that's eventually evolved into Injective.
So was Injective an on-chain order book? Is Injective basically an L1 that's purpose built for financial applications, essentially, or is it like something you see having applicability in other areas?
Yeah, so Injective obviously has the capability of building like any type of generalized application or be the generalized platform to support any type of application. But there's a lot of built-in modules that allows applications to leverage, and these are basically like highways or fast lanes for various type of transactions or specific activities. And for Injective's case, all these activities are related to trading, related to finance, related to some of the building blocks for like financial infrastructure. So applications can tap in, communicate with each other via this common language that is money, and really synergize from there.
Okay, great. So that was the starting point for Injective. So where is Injective at today?
Yeah, so Injective still is like a L1 blockchain built for finance. It has done 40, I think $50 billion of volume to date, just on the exchange module alone, and also supports wide and expansive financial ecosystem, ranging from DeFi to RWA to TradFi apps, and also supporting a very very strong and very exciting community that is the ninjas.
Interesting. So, we've had a lot of different metas over the past few years, these narratives that people get super excited about, right? And DeFi was one of the earliest ones back in 2020-21 around DeFi summer. And it seems to have taken a bit of a backseat to some of these other things that people have been more excited about recently. I mean, last year, for better or for worse, it was meme coins, but now everyone is really talking about AI agents and a lot of the network activity on lots of different layer one networks. A lot of the developer activity seems to be driven in large part by this. But you guys see an intersection, right, of DeFi and AI. So why don't you just sort of tell us a little bit about that? Like, what are some of the ways in which the financial world that you've built on chain is starting to interact with this emerging area of on-chain AI?
Yeah, so for our journey with AI, I think it really has like a kind of like a pre LLM boom and like a post LLM boom type of division.
Yeah.
So before LLM becoming very very popular with ChatGPT, etc.
Yeah.
AI has been in our blood, and there were a lot of like development work in terms of bringing a lot of the training models, especially machine learning models, fully on chain and being able to like operate that, and perhaps having some of the off-chain processes to adjust the parameters live on chain to execute various trading strategies or various other like autonomous processes. And all of this effectively were democratized and basically heavily lowered the cost for any type of like AI adoption or any type of AI utility thanks to the LLM boom. And from that point on, it's been a very very exciting time for us, because what we managed to build is first of all iAgent kits, which allows for anyone to plug into their favorite LLM and perform various transactions and DeFi activities on top of Injective. And a lot of, I think, the AI agents on top of Injective has already been leveraging it, placing trades and creating like autonomous actions to engage with various dApps within the ecosystem. And on the other hand, there's been a lot of work on just in general, basically ensuring that in the base layer it's as expressive as possible for any type of like DeFi activity, so that AI agents can easily plug in, can easily perform like a full expressive activities in mind. And perform like leverage trading, etc. That's not really accessible in other environments.
Okay, so just like let's take it back and give a specific example. So like I think we have an interesting audience for the show. Like there's a lot of crypto native people, but there are also a lot of people who are from the TradFi world and are trying to understand these technologies so that they can figure out how to invest in them. So I think a lot of people will have used an LLM. Like they will have used ChatGPT or something like that. And when you say like there's an integration or they're connected, like how exactly does that work? Like, are you asking ChatGPT to like go create a trading bot that can then go do activities on the Injective network? Is it more complicated than that? Like, just walk us through step by step of just how exactly they integrate.
Yeah, so for iAgent, it supports not only like ChatGPT slash OpenAI APIs. It also
Yeah.
supports any type of other prominent LLMs,
Yeah.
and they can even build like a custom connector. But as long as it plugs in with the native primitives on top of Injective, they can easily connect it. And what it allows, what iAgent allows for is to have like an on-chain identity to be fully established and fully created, as well as like running and operating multiple like AI agents in parallel. And this basically allows for the instant spawning of an AI agent if you just give it any type of like pre-prepared context or any type of pre-prepared prompts for it to go into a while and perform activities and be fully autonomous. And then on another hand, there's basically like a whole like wallet and address management suite that basically allows like AI agent to have its own like on-chain identity, to have its own like a full history and system in place, so that this way launching and pushing out an AI agent that can autonomously operate within the Injective ecosystem is easier than ever.
Yeah, interesting. Well, to me, it's one of those like kind of aha moments, because a lot of DeFi is really exciting, but I think it's quite foreign to the average TradFi, person. Like if you're an investor, you may be used to having a brokerage account. You may be used to using a like a Robinhood, or calling your broker, or owning options, owning stocks, buying bonds, etc. Once you enter into the wide world of DeFi, it starts to seem a little bit foreign. So to me, the idea that like crypto was never an asset class for people, it was always an asset class for machines, is both very convenient and also like quite compelling, right? Like this idea that you don't need to know how to, you don't need to know what a bonding curve is. You don't need to know what a liquidity pool is. All you need to know is that you can instruct AI to go and seek out opportunities on your behalf, right? Like where's the best return at a certain risk level, or like where can I own these assets that I've been reading about on Twitter and I don't want to go open a wallet and bridge money to a different blockchain or something like that. Like, I feel like that is, to me, the sort of killer unlock for crypto use, is that it's not just AI itself, like autonomous bots going around doing stuff. It's actually stuff being directed by people. Is that, how much of that would you say though is like real, and how much of that is hype at this stage?
So it depends on the way you look at it. Basically, like everything that you described already exists in the TradFi world, or like in the world outside of crypto. It's just not necessarily accessible, or it's not necessarily like prevalent as it is within the crypto world, just because the barrier is lower, and the entire crypto ecosystem, especially all the primitives within like a blockchain architecture, is designed to kind of remove the line between like a human account versus like a machine account, or like
Sure.
a computer, right? And
But
in the
Eric,
real world, there's
before you go on, just can you clarify when you said like this stuff is more widely available in the crypto world versus the TradFi world? What are you referring to exactly? Just
AI agents, autonomous agents,
AI.
or the
Yeah.
integration of like AI slash machine learning into various financial activities.
Yeah.
Yeah, because within the real world, it's operated by companies. It's operated by larger financial institutions, or proprietary trading firms, etc. And
Yeah.
all of these are building very, very advanced machine learning models with extremely high levels of precision to execute trading strategies, or managing portfolio on behalf of the traders slash developers. And these all
Yes.
kind of exist. It's just like the hoop to go through because of compliance and the regulation. Basically raises like the cost of entry. It basically ensures that like a human can't just tell like a AI agent, or like interact with like a publicly available like a machine learning model and like perform all the work for them, because there's also like a knowledge barrier. And
Yeah.
what crypto enables is for all this first of all, like to be extremely easy to deploy, extremely easy to manage, so it be extremely prevalent. But on the other hand, the interface or the way for humans to communicate with these type of models is also easier than ever because there is now like a text interface to communicate with these AI models. Thanks to LLM, your text instructions that might not necessarily be precise or be extremely robust when you try to communicate with these AI agents are now sufficient for a lot of the purposes or objectives that you're trying to do. Like if you try to tell an AI to execute a trade for you, before it would be extremely difficult. It will be extremely annoying. You would probably have to build out all the connectors. You would probably have to pre-train the model somehow, or adapt the model or take the exact right special purpose model for this particular use case. But now it's simply telling an AI, and it will fulfill your objective extremely easily. Now the difference is that LLM AIs are extremely good at convincing you that they can do the job. It's extremely good at telling you that, or it's extremely proactive in terms of fulfilling the requests of a human prompt or any type of prompt. And what this ends up happening is that it'll be able to do the job in probabilistic way. It'll if you tell it to execute a trade for going long 50x on BTC perp, it will do that for you 90-80% of times, or perhaps even 99% of times if the model is robust enough. But at the same time, if you give it complex reasoning instructions, seek out opportunities for me, or here's a list of market, here's a list of platforms, earn 10% yield for me. It might not necessarily do it to the level of precision that you're looking for, but it can make it extremely easy, or it will do the first step for you. So I think this is where currently people are kind of overestimating the capabilities of AI agent. But the space, thanks to the boom, thanks to all the mind share, is rapidly evolving, and they're slowly growing into having a swarm of models to be able to adapt to be able to utilize, where all of this is probably going to be compressed very, very soon.
Got it. It's almost like a spectrum where there's execution only, and then there's a co-pilot, and then there's almost like your own AI advisor, right? Where the first thing needs go buy 50x long perps on Bitcoin, whatever. That's execution capability. Then there's what you said. It's they might help you with the first step. It's I want to do this. It's okay, well, here's what you'll need to do in order to do that, and here are some steps that you'll need to take, and it's helping you along the way. And then there's the final end state, which is you give it plain language instructions. I want to go earn 10%, with limited downside, and I want to be diversified, and I want to, be able to call my loan at any point in time because I have liquidity. And that's all you say. And you're not saying what crypto to own or even to buy crypto. It could be that AI agent is executing on TradFi exchanges for all you know. And it's all happening on its own, right? And it's basically you're an average Joe with your own family office that can do all this complex stuff that was previously only available to a certain amount of people. I think that's the hope. That's certainly the thing that I find really compelling. And it seems like that's where we're headed. But then again, it also seems kind of skeuomorphic in a weird way, that it's okay, the end state is for us to have some sort of digitized version of something that already exists, when maybe we end up with something that's totally different and much weirder than we thought. And the much weirder is also kind of intriguing, which is not agents acting on behalf of people, but agents acting on their own behalf, self-owned sovereign agents that have a bank account, have a crypto wallet, which functions like a bank account. And it feels that's we're not there yet. Even Truth Terminal and these other examples, they're still created by people, and their wallets are set up by people, and they're funded by people. And so all of the things they do are really interesting, building wealth for themselves, but there's definitely human involvement. But at what point do we lose the human part? Is that something that you think about at all?
Oh yeah, it's completely possible. One of the problems currently or limiting factor with LLM is if you give them a prompt, or give them an instruction, it's it's going to generate, let's say, like from like 50, 1,000 or 2,000 tokens into like 50,000, 2,000 token of output. And from that point on, it kind of like stops from there.
We're talking about tokens, meaning like groupings of letters and words, not like.
Oh yeah. For LM
Just to,
processing.
just to clarify, people are listening.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
And basically, there's a certain level limit before like you want to constrain like the output so that like there's an iterative process, so that like your instructions or like the accuracy of the results you're looking for remains accurate before it kind of like veers off too much or like starts become like probabilistic, guaranteed to like hallucinate.
Yeah.
And what this kind of like constrains is like a single hop of logic or single hop of reasoning, because what it does is that it takes your input and then it only makes a second step or like a limited set of like n step into like the output. And what's really powerful about like OpenAI's like O1 model, et cetera, is that it adds a layer of reasoning so that it becomes like it no longer becomes like a static like n hop of logic and reasoning, and instead it utilizes like reasoning tokens to like expand more and then achieve like the results, and then essentially goes through like a self-reasoning model like to like remove a lot of the issues, to like justify the response, and then coming up with like the desired output that you're looking for. And this type of process is kind of like the I would say like what we really look forward to for like a fully autonomous agent, because if you feed it like a certain objective, and in reality like it gets a lot more than like what you feed it via the instructions or the prompts. It actually gets it from market data that consistently like listening to. It gets it from like portfolio updates. It gets it from like all the real world data, or like the data that's outside of the prompt, to continually like improve itself, to feed itself, to improve upon it. And then with this reasoning, this allows for the hallucination to be extremely limited and provide a lot better accuracy. And with like specialized models, kind of self-organized or like organized in like a swarm setup, etc. Because I'm not too familiar with those things. What this promises is that it allows also the AI agent to be the like language interface for humans and be autonomous, because like the internet, everything that involves human is communicated primarily via language. Be autonomous and also use the high precision models or high precision like algorithms out there to execute and to outperform like a human portfolio and human management. So I think that's like the step that we're looking for. It's like it gets more and more refined, it gets more and more accurate in terms of response, and that's when we see a world with like fully autonomous agents performing extremely competent and like extremely performant trading strategies or portfolio management strategies for users.
That was a terrific explanation. So when do you think that happens?
Honestly, given the pace of iteration within the AI world, obviously, like I'm no expert in that. I think it'll be fairly quick.
You could fool us.
Might be in a matter, yeah, in a matter of like a year, maybe, like maybe up to 5.
Yeah. Yeah. They used to say about the Internet of Things that there would be more internet connected devices than people. That you'd have smart home monitors and fridges and other appliances. And now I feel like they're saying something similar about AI agents, which is that they're going to be more AI. There's going to be more crypto wallets associated with AI agents than there are with people. And I don't know, maybe we're already at that point. Like, to be honest, like things are moving so quickly, but is that something that you buy into? Like, will you be just as likely to be interacting with an AI agent as you are with a person online?
Yeah, I think this is simply due to the fact that like human can only make one response or make one piece of content. There's a limitation or like cap in terms of like how much content like a human can create, whereas in reality there's a limit, but like for our intents and purposes, there's no limit in terms of like the content and also like activity that like an AI agent can create is simply bounded by, the computing power and also, like the storage in the world.
Right.
Um,
When you say a
and
human
so
can only create one kind of content, what do you mean by that?
it means that, I can't parallel write 10 posts at the same time. I can't, there's a limit to like a absolute, ground level, like a human resource in terms of like generating content, whether that be text, whether that be, like artwork, etc. Whereas like AI isn't necessarily bound by that, or it's working with a much higher ceiling. So I think in the future, yes, like it's certainly going to be AI agents like outnumbering human.
Kind of interesting. Well, very, very interesting. So where's this all going to happen, right? Like you guys have built an L1, you've done $40 billion through the purpose-built order book, but there's a consensus that, well, not a consensus, but there's a feeling that we're going to need as much block space as we can get our hands on. And you've seen a lot of the high throughput, low latency blockchains like Solana and now Sui and others really driving a lot of mind share at this point in time. So like how do you think about Injective as a platform in this new world where there are more AI agents than people and where there's all of this innovation happening? Like how do you fit into that? Can you explain?
Yeah, so I think for Injective's case, it doesn't necessarily heavily discern the division between like human and AI agents slash machines. And what this allows for is like an infrastructure that caters to both of the audience. So both human and AI agents can also interact and kind of like share the foundation that's built out by the Injective infrastructure, the Injective modules, etc. And as like a blockchain that's purpose built for finance, it means that Injective is going to be the most optimal platform or venue for a lot of on-chain financial activities. It's going to be the most robust infrastructure, or the most expressive infrastructure for various on-chain activities like making a trade, like looking at like the order book that only exists on chain, and looking at like the different type of liquidity information. So essentially, for Injective's case, it's almost like a gold mine for AI agents because of the availability of data. They can't necessarily just arbitrarily connect to a certain exchange or arbitrarily connect to like a certain platform and take in information, or they can't see the information being fed by various exchange and see it as a guarantee, or the immediacy of liquidity access because they have to onboard and stuff like that. But for Injective's case, every single dollar that's posted on the order book within the exchange module, every single Oracle signal, every single lending protocol like liquidity, it's all immediately accessible. It's all immediately available for the AI agents, and I think that's the most powerful thing.
Yeah, interesting. So you said maybe maybe 5 years. Like, what is your wildest prediction for where things are headed in, I don't know, 1 year's time?
Yeah, I think we get to see like a somewhat of a first iteration of. I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we get to see some of the earlier iterations of like a AI agent that's gets close to or simulates the capability of the agent within Her. That's going to be very, very interesting because currently it certainly doesn't even like come close, because in the movie you see a lot of like the specific calculation capabilities, the specific advanced reasoning capabilities done by the AI within Her, and you're
Yeah.
not seeing that right now. But I think very soon you're going to be able to.
I think about that sometimes because I find it really interesting, but also a little bit scary. And one of the things is that, people are going to form relationships with AI. And I don't know how to feel about that. But I do know that it's sort of weird if, you form this deep bond with an AI agent, and maybe it's as a friend or as a companion, romantic companion. But like if you don't control that or like, own the IP, who's to say that whoever's offering that to you changes the terms of service or increases the price or uses it as a way to influence your spending or your political ideology or something. I mean, it becomes this incredibly powerful way to impact people's lives. And I and I think like we need some kind of solution where individuals can have localized AI that they really do kind of own and control to prevent that kind of stuff from happening, because I can see it being very disruptive and potentially very damaging. There was a news report that a woman was conned out of $800,000 by someone pretending to be Brad Pitt, who was using deep fake videos to basically convince her that, he was Brad Pitt and he was in the hospital and she divorced her husband. I mean, that's a pretty extreme case, and I don't exactly think it'll be the norm, because I think most people wouldn't be fooled in that way. But you can imagine how, if that's happening today, just how crazy things could get.
Yeah, so I think this is why also like open source is such an important thing, and I mean
Yeah.
this is why like I'm personally in the blockchain space. Um, it's having like a LM model that you don't have control over, having the prompts or context or memory that are being like hosted by someone else, where someone else
Yeah.
has complete control over it. It's a very, very scary thought to have, because it means that one of your most your most private identity, which is your stream of consciousness or your train of thought, is being shared, and you have zero sovereignty over it. And I think this is why it's very important for all sectors of software to have the ideology or like the belief in open source, and also self-hosting. Because I think I saw like somewhere there was like a jest about AI agents, which is like if your like AI agent is a hosted LLM, that's not your girlfriend, that's a prostitute. It's a similar thought, because what you're dealing with is if you self-host like a certain LLM, it becomes like a part of your like thought process. It becomes somewhat of like a part of your identity, because you interact with it, you build up the context and also memory with the AI agent. So it's very much a part of you in a sense. But like when it's self-hosted, it basically becomes like a one-way consignment of your knowledge and also your thought process.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it strikes me as like one of the killer apps for doing things on chain, right? Which is to like be able to um, control the data, to be able to not be surveilled, to know that the influence that's coming at you is maybe responsive versus coming from some higher power that's trying to influence you. Like, I don't know, it just seems like we're getting down an interesting rabbit hole here. I love talking about this stuff, but it seems like the only way to scale a lot of these more radical and more futuristic versions of AI is to do it all on chain, because the alternative is one that almost kind of extends the Web2 model of data exploitation, surveillance, control to an extreme level, an extreme level, all the way down to like the romantic and friend level, if that's where we're headed. So I feel like that is something that needs to happen for this to actually scale in a sustainable and healthy way. I know that's sort of beyond the remit of on-chain DeFi, but I think it's important, right, as we look into the future.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Eric, this has been such an interesting conversation. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. So why don't you just tell us like what's next for Injective in 2025? Like, what do you hope to achieve for the ecosystem and for the platform?
Yeah, so first of all, like iAgent 2.0 is going to be coming out soon. I'm sure chances are by the time this podcast comes out, maybe it's already released. And in terms of the more grand scheme
Just
of
remind us
things,
what is that? AI agents 2.0. Just tell
iAgent,
us what
it's
that.
a SDK
Oh,
kit for anyone to instantly
yeah.
deploy AI agents on top of Injective. And now with 2.0, there's a lot more advanced features and also a lot more robust capabilities. And then looking forward to for the rest of 2025, it's about building out a multi-VM world where all developers from different environments can meet. united under the common language of finance, and really built like a very robust ecosystem where like Injective stands at the hub for financial activity, especially advanced financial activity for all blockchains and all environments.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that was a great discussion. I feel like I learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners did as well about on-chain AI and some of the advancements that are happening. And really excited for you guys and what you've been able to accomplish. So thank you so much. Where can people learn more about Injective, follow you, keep up on everything that's happening in the ecosystem?
Yeah, the best way is to go on injective.com or follow at Injective on x.com. And for me, it's at Eric Injective.
All right, sounds good. I'm giving you a follow right now, Eric. I should have had you on my list before, but now you're definitely on the list. Awesome. Well, that was a really great discussion, as I mentioned, and we hope to have you back maybe in a year's time to see how some of these predictions and ideas stack up with the benefit of hindsight. But that's it for this week's episode of DeFi Decoded. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Make sure to leave a comment, like and share the podcast wherever you get it. It helps others find it. Until next week, take care, and we will speak soon. Cheers.
The information contained herein does not constitute an offer or solicitation by anyone in the United States or in any other jurisdiction in which such an offer or solicitation is not authorized, or to any person to whom it is unlawful to make such an offer or solicitation. Prospective investors who are not residents in Canada should contact their financial advisor to determine whether securities of the funds may be lawfully sold in their jurisdiction.